In the headlines, ADC suspends presidential candidate Kachukwu over alleged misconduct. Bandits invade mosque, abduct deputy chief imam, dozens of worshippers in Zamfara. Federal government says no more UAE tourist visas for persons under age of 40. And on the foreign scene, U.S. Border Patrol says 8 migrants died trying to cross Rio Grande in Texas, 37 others rescued. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Hello and welcome once again. We begin with politics, where the Africa Democratic Congress, ADC, has suspended its presidential candidate, Dumebi Kachukwu, from the party. In a statement issued on Saturday and signed by the party's Deputy National Chairman, Bamidele Ajadi, the party accused Kachukwu of false, misguided and defamatory video he made and circulated, among other infractions. Ajadi revealed that the decision was taken after an emergency National Working Committee meeting held on Friday, 2nd September. The party noted that Kachukwu's speech in the said video contravened the principles and values upon which ADC was founded and the specific provision of Article 16 of the ADC Constitution. Ajadi noted that the National Working Committee strongly believes that to demean the character of the founders and financiers of ADC, who have worked tirelessly to build an enviable brand that Nigerians are proud of and which many great minds have stood elections under, smacks of gross indiscipline. Former military head of state Abdulsalami Abubakar has said Nigeria needs vibrant and visionary leaders that will steer the country on the path of glory. Speaking when he hosted presidential candidate of Accord Party in the 2023 elections, Christopher Imumole, Abubakar said the country was in dire need of vibrant, youthful leaders to seize the initiative and retire a fading breed of the old guard. The Accord Party presidential flag bearer, in a chat with reporters at the home of the former leader and elder statesman, had reiterated his stance on the role the next generation of leaders like him should play in taking the country to its promised land. Abdulsalami midwifed the process that ushered in the Fourth Republic, which began with the democratically elected government of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo in 1999. National and State House of Assembly Election Petition Tribunal in Plateau State has sacked Musa Aga of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, who represents Bassa, Jos North Federal Constituency, in the House of Representatives. The tribunal had also ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to return Muhammad Adam Al-Kali of the People's Redemption Party, PRP, as the authentic winner of the February 26 by-election for the constituency. Ado Musa completes the story.
Judgment of the tribunal in Jos, chaired by Justice Hope Uzo, voided election of the PDP lawmaker. The panel, which had Kadi Usman Umar and Justice Zainab Bashir, held that the petitioners, PRP and Muhammad Al-Kali, have proved their case beyond reasonable doubt. Justice Bashir, while reading the judgment, said the petitioners have proven that the PDP did not validly nominate Musa Aga, having a subsisting judgment of High Court which affirmed that the PDP had no valid structure in the state to nominate a candidate for any elective position. The tribunal also held that there was overvoting in the result declared by INEC that produced the winner of the 26 February 2022 by-election at 27 polling units in Tudunwada Carbon Ward in Jos North. Counsel for the petitioners, Yakubu Ruba, SAN, said he is happy with the judgment and the outcome is a victory to democracy.
The press, ladies and gentlemen, as you heard what she said, this is a victory for the people of Plateau State. This is a victory for all of us. This is a victory for the judiciary. You see, there are two basic issues decided in this tribunal today.
The PRP candidate, Muhammad Al-Kali, expressed satisfaction with the judgment, calling on his opponent to accept the verdict.
It's hope and future in the system. There's a lot of reform. You know, I'm from minority party, that's the PRP. So I think there's a few things. I want to check for replacing a card reader leaders. And I'm calling my politicians friends. Don't ever, something doesn't belong to you.
The tribunal, however, awarded 3 million naira cost against the first and the second respondent, Bin Musa Aga and his party, the PDP. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
And ahead of the 2023 general elections, the Electoral Forum is engaging stakeholders within the sector to dialogue on policy aimed at enhancing electoral accountability and integrity by learning and sharing good practices for addressing vote buying and selling from comparative experience. This formed part of the deliberations at a dialogue supported by the Open Society Initiative for West Africa, while establishing the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, creating awareness about electoral offences, sanctions and deterrence. Trust TV's Aisha Salihu reports.
The need to address the negative effects of the dynamics and sociology of vote trading as it affects the country's electoral system, while entrenching deepening participation and role of the citizens towards achieving a better democracy, has given rise to these policy dialogue by members of the National Assembly, chairmen of State Electoral Commission and Anti-Corruption Agency, civil society organizations, in a bid to eradicate the long-lasting corrupt culture building up to the elections.
They still look forward to good quality governance. Even after you've sold your conscience, you've sold your vote, you still wait back and hope that by some streak of luck that there will be quality governance. But we know that it's impossible for you to have that.
In the fight against trading in votes, essentially because it complements the war against corruption in Nigeria.
Although factors such as ignorance, poverty, greed and desperation, lack of convincing manifestos and lack of confidence in voters leading to inducement have been stated to perpetuate vote trading, but a number of solutions have been preferred to eradicate the practice with the provision of more stringent penalties as consequences, increased voter education on the masses and political parties, and making public offices less lucrative, among others.
The law empowers INEC to prosecute, but the law does not give it the power to arrest and investigate. Based on this lacuna in the nation's statute books, experts, including politicians, have raised issues on the urgency of having a commission saddled with such responsibility in place.
The National Assembly for the public hearing of the Electoral Offences Commission, and they are making good progress with the bill, and we're hoping that something good will happen soon in that regard. I must say that with us at INEC, we're going to intensify our voter education, sensitize the people more with regards to vote buying. As soon as people begin to have faith in the electoral process, they'll begin to see the power that they have over those who are running for politics.
According to these policymakers, the act of vote trading takes away the right and dignity of the electorates, leaving the electoral process and democratic system void of morality and development. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And former Governor of Plateau State, Jonah Jang, and the former cashier to the Office of the Secretary to the Plateau Government, Yusuf Pam, have been discharged and acquitted of the 6.3 billion naira fraud allegations by the State High Court. Dixon Adama reports that the EFCC had in 2018 accused Jang of diverting 2 billion naira provided by the Central Bank of Nigeria for empowering youth and women on small and medium-scale enterprises, as well as misappropriation of and diversion of funds meant for the state universal basic education, among others. In her judgment, however, Justice Bapup said the EFCC could not prove the case of misappropriation and diversion of public funds against the former governor beyond reasonable doubt. The court therefore quashed all 17-count charges leveled against the former governor and the government cashier, saying that it lacked merit. Reacting, Jang's lead counsel, Mike Ezechome, said the victory is well-deserved, adding that Jang remains an asset to the state.
Is that Senator David Jonah Jang has been discharged and acquitted by the High Court of Plateau State after a 4.5-year trial, which started on the 4th of May 2018 with the counts amended on the 30th of September 2019. So between 4th of May 2018 and today's 2nd of September 2022, Jonah Jang have been going through the ordeal, the harrowing experience of a criminal trial, being prosecuted by the EFCC, has been discharged and acquitted by the court of all the 17 count charge. 17 counts charge. He was discharged and acquitted. So he's a free man. That's the man you were saying stole billions of money. The count found that no one kobo was stolen by this man. That the 2.5 billion naira that CBN gave to Plateau State government was given as a loan, acknowledged and vindicated by the State House of Assembly. Today is a day when justice has been enthroned, but more importantly, today is a day that we must glorify God with full adoration forever, and ever, and ever. Amen. God bless you.
And now to matters of security, where bandits on Friday invaded a Jumat mosque in Zugu community in Zamfara state and abducted a yet-to-be-confirmed number of worshippers. According to the Zagazola Makama, a counter-insurgency publication, the bandits disguised themselves as worshippers and invaded the central mosque in Zugu town, Ukuyum local government area, at about 1:30 p.m. on Friday. Abdul Karim Bilyaminu, a resident, also reportedly said the deputy chief imam was among those abducted by the gunmen. Zamfara police spokesman Muhammad Shehu confirmed the attack on the village, but said the command has not been able to ascertain if it was a mosque that was invaded, as the community is in a remote location. The spokesman said no one was killed in the attack, adding that the number of abducted persons is not yet known. You're watching Trust TV News Update. And still to come on the news. FCT residents lament high costs of house rent. Details of this and more after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Update. Now let's take another look at our top stories. ADC suspends presidential candidate Kachuku over alleged misconduct. And bandits invade mosque, abduct deputy chief imam, dozens of worshippers in Zamfara. And moving on to other news now. As the strike by the Academic Staff Union of University Unions enters 7 months, many university students have resorted to learning trades to fill the gap. Speaking with Trust TV's Hamid Oyegbade in Oshogbo, 2 students of the University of Ilorin, David Oni and Aisha Abdul Karim, said they have improved on the trade they were learning. The students appealed to the federal government and ASU to resolve the issues and end the strike.
since March till now. Early during the strike, I decided to start learning some trades instead of just staying at home and doing nothing. So I decided to start learning how to barb. I have a couple of other things in mind. Hopefully the strike ends soon. This is just an appeal for the federal government and ASU to put an end to the strike and allow students to go back to school. I'm a student of the University of Ilorin. It's so sad that students have been at home for almost a session now because of the issue between the federal government and ASU. A lot of students are idle, while some students got things to do. Like me now, I've got myself involved in trading. I've been learning how to buy and sell. I hope the government and the ASU will solve their issue on time so we can go back to our academic activities.
Meanwhile, member of the House of Representatives and former Minister of State for Education, Aisha Duku, has called on the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, to both go back to the drawing board in order for them to bring a lasting solution to the lingering industrial action by the union. She made this call while responding to questions during a courtesy call to Media Trust Limited. Duku says the strike, which has been gone on for over 6 months, has kept university students at home and idle.
When two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. Our children are at home and parents are not happy. The society, the entire country is not happy about the situation. Always reaching a deadlock, is not a solution. I want to call on the two sides, both government and ASU should face reality. There is no option other than to come back still to the drawing table because there must be a solution. It cannot continue to linger on like this while our children are at home, and they say an idle mind is a devil's workshop, and this is not good for the country. I want to say that the solution is still to go back to the drawing table. Let us all be sincere in our approach. Let ASU look at what the government is saying, and let the government also look at what ASU is saying. And I'm sure there is a solution. Only that, something somewhere is wrong, which, has to be looked at and it has to be addressed. But it should not be allowed to continue.
Now, the high cost of house rent in Nigeria's capital city, Abuja, has become a source of concern, as millions of families find it hard to afford decent homes or pay their yearly rent from their annual earnings. The high cost of bills, especially the house rent, is eating up 80% of annual income of both young and old Nigerians. Nana Muhammad has more.
Families face fights for survival in makeshift homes, while young people spend most of their income paying house rents without an option to save for the future. Every day, the number of people struggling to make a living from makeshift homes is increasing due to the ever-growing inflation. The National Bureau of Statistics says Nigerians' inflation rates increased to 19.64% in July 2022 alone, throwing dozens of families into difficulty. Halima Isa is a petty trader and a mother of 10 who has been living in Abuja for 15 years. She cannot afford to pay for a house and lives in a makeshift shelter made of zinc. I am a petty trader. I sell food by the roadside to support my family income, but we are still struggling with poverty. I pray that my life and that of my family change for the better, but from the look of things, I am losing hope. Over the years, she has worked hard to train her children in school to guarantee a better future, but the vision she hoped for and looked forward to looks blurry. Every day I go out and see all these beautiful houses. I pray to God to provide the same for my family or for my children in the near future. That is why I work hard to train my children in school for our life to improve for the better. Some young people between the ages of 30 and below lament that house rent takes more than 80% of their yearly income.
I think the most high is the house rent, because the house rent is really something else right now.
What we are getting is very little and everything is expensive.
To address the housing deficit in Abuja, an estate developer is suggesting that government partners with the private sector.
When it comes to housing within the city center, I can tell you the issue of affordability becomes a matter of class in terms of who can afford it in such a location and where. The government alone cannot take the responsibility solely to provide housing. They should partner, or they are supposed to partner with real estate developers in the private sector to be able to solve the issue of housing deficit in Nigeria.
The rapidly growing population and constantly rising inflation is dimming the hope of low-income earners that they can own a decent home. The population of homeless people in Abuja is projected to reach 5 million mark in the next 1 year due to high cost of living. Nana Muhammad, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The federal government has reacted to a viral video showing stranded Nigerians at an airport in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. The video has suggested that Nigerians had been denied entry into the UAE despite possessing valid visas. In a statement signed by Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Francisca Omayuli, the government said the stranded Nigerians did not have the correct visas. The statement added that the UAE has stopped issuing tourist visas to persons under the age of 40, except for those applying for family visas. The Nigerian mission in Dubai has clarified that most of the supposedly stranded Nigerians were issued with family visas only to arrive in Dubai alone without any family member. Omayuli said they were denied entry and advised to return to their country and apply for the appropriate visas. And Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has proposed a debt for climate swap deal to allow African countries help advance the course of global net zero emission targets and facilitate energy access. According to a statement signed by the Vice President's spokesperson, Laolu Akonde, Osinbajo made the proposal during a lecture on a just and equitable energy transition for Africa at the Center for Global Development in Washington, D.C. He stated that debt for climate swap is a type of debt swap where bilateral or multilateral debt is forgiven by creditors in exchange for a commitment by the debtor to use the outstanding debt service payments for national climate action programs. To find the rationale behind such a debt swap deal, the Vice President submitted that the commitment to it would increase the fiscal space for climate-related investments and reduce the debt burden for participating developing countries.
So the Vice President has, in the last 2 or 3 days, been around here in Washington, D.C., pushing the recently launched energy transition plan of the federal government, along the whole idea of the global target for net zero emissions in 2060. He gave a lecture at the Center for Global Development where he proposed 2 key ideas. The first one is the debt for climate swap, which essentially is to be a win-win both for creditor nations and countries that also have debt obligations in such a way that we promote climate change, that we promote the idea of a net zero emissions, and then also he also proposed the idea, secondly, of Africa getting involved, participating in the carbon market, whereby some of the things that African countries, including Nigeria, will be doing, the global north, the developed countries will be able to verify it and, of course, give us credit for it.
And now for a look at the foreign scene, where at least 8 people have been found dead in the Rio Grande River after dozens attempted a hazardous crossing to enter the United States from Mexico near Eagle Pass, Texas. U.S. Customs and Border Protection said in a statement on Friday that U.S. officials recovered 6 bodies, while Mexican teams recovered 2 others. U.S. and Mexican officials made the grim discovery on Thursday while responding to a large group of people crossing the river following days of heavy rains that had resulted in particularly swift currents. The U.S. Border Agency said U.S. crews rescued 37 others from the river and detained 16 more, while Mexican officials took 39 into custody. Officials on both sides of the border are continuing to search for other possible victims. And in sports, Serena Williams says she wants to be remembered as a fighter who is proud of the impact she has had on tennis, as she most likely dropped the curtain on her historic career at the US Open on Friday. A defiant Serena bid an emotional goodbye to Flushing Meadows with a third-round loss to Ajla Tomljanovic on Friday. Defeat has always been hard to swallow for the fiercely competitive Williams, and no doubt the 7-5, 6-7, 6-1 loss to the 46th-ranked Australian stung her to the core. Her 3 matches at this year's US Open, highlighted by a second-round win over world number 2, were a gift to her fans. The relentless, never-surrender attitude that made her tennis's dominant player for more than 2 decades on display right until the final point. On the court, she thanked her family, friends and fans for an incredible journey. And that wraps up Trust TV News Update for this hour. For more news, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.